Hello, my name is Mike Tellerino. I'm the CEO of K9 for Veterans. I am here today with Susan Van Veen. She is the Executive Director of Bridge to Success. Susan, why don't you tell us what Bridge to Success is all about?
Okay, happy to do that. Bridge to Success provides enhanced job opportunities by providing high-end interview clothing, and it's very contemporary. And we combine that with a personal stylist, so you get coaching and you get a good fit. So it's not like going to a regular store and you're guessing what the
Right.
fit is. You don't walk out our door unless you look really good. So the population that we work with are at-risk men, women, and young adults, and we're the only agency in the Chicagoland area that works citywide with men and young adults.
What inspired you to create? I've never heard of an organization like this. First of all, what inspired you to do this?
Well, back in the mid-'80s, when they did the welfare to work programs, almost all of the agencies like Bridge to Success focused on women, just women. And there were a lot of us that said, whoa, wait a minute, there's another part to the equation,
Right.
and that's men. So probably after 2000, a lot of agencies started saying, I think we should be serving men. And I was the executive director of another agency, and they didn't want to change their model. And I ethically couldn't work there if we couldn't serve everybody.
Right.
So I left and we created Bridge to Success in 2006 with the intent where we were saying at some point these wars are going to end, who knew, but our vets are
Yeah.
going to start coming home, and there needs to be services for them, particularly the ability to get dressed and look really good and make that good first impression. Because what I'll tell you is about what the state of Illinois reported about 3 years ago is 85% of interview rejections are based on appearance.
Really? So if you go into an interview and you're not dressed appropriately, let's just say that, you think you're going to be basically shot down just because of that reason?
Yep.
Really?
And you have,
It's a shame.
if you think about it, from the time you go through the door of wherever it is you're interviewing, you're interviewing. You're on the clock. People who are watching you
The
or see
impressions
you,
that they
yeah.
get from you.
Yeah, and when the interviewer comes out to meet you, you've got 3 to 5 seconds to make that great first
They
impression.
can judge you that quick.
Yep.
They size you
And they
up.
do.
They size you up.
Well, they don't actually size you up. We react on prejudice and bias and assumptions.
Okay.
So I teach management at Columbia College, and one of the things I teach my students is we get ourselves in trouble because we make assumptions about people. So if you're crabby, then I don't think you're a nice person, but you might have just gotten
Right.
fired.
Right.
And if you smile at me, then I think you're a wonderful person, but you could be a serial killer. So it doesn't really tell, but that's what you have to do.
Right.
You have to go in, make that handshake count,
Right.
speak loud enough that people can hear you, and know how to sell yourself. But if you don't have those 5 seconds, you're not going to be able to sell yourself.
How can we help veterans with this? I know we had talked earlier that we have veterans coming home that we, like you said, we expected this to end a long time ago, and now we still have veterans coming home. How can we help them in translating that experience that they had in the military to putting it on a resume that's going to be able to help an employer look at that resume and go, my God, they've got a lot of qualifications, I
Yeah.
mean, most of the guys coming home aren't going to know how to translate that into experience that an employer is going to look and say, yeah, he's a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
So,
I think there's layers to it. So I think initially you have the transition from the military to
Right.
civilian life. And we were talking earlier about that's a cultural shift, and it can be a cultural shock as well. So yeah, I think there has to be some help in managing that. And then I think you have to get You have to learn how to translate that military experience to civilian language.
that they could use.
And that's tough.
Right.
Because you think in a certain mindset when you're from the military.
Right.
And I think that's where collaboration with others and other agencies in the Chicago area or all across this country need to happen, where it's recognized when you terminate from the military, you maybe get a handshake,
There's got to be a transition.
and then there's a goodbye,
Right.
and that's it. There is no transition offered.
Right, and there's none.
No, no, and we've talked about that as well. So what we do is help with that self-confidence. So you get to a point when you're not getting the job because you're, for whatever reason, your resume isn't hacking it, your interview skills aren't doing it,
Well,
and you
that's-
just get frustrated.
That's one of the things that we had talked about as far as working with K-9 and Bridge to Success.
Yeah.
With these veterans returning home, that we would like to take that and get that resume turned into a resume that in his prospective employer is going to look at and say, wow, he's got some great skills.
Yeah.
As well as help these veterans returning that are looking for a job, help them through the interview process to do a mock interview.
Yeah.
Let's just say to get them prepared. So between the resume, the mock interviews, and of course the wonderful
The
things
clothing,
of Bridge,
yeah.
the clothing, it's basically the whole package.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
And that's, I think, what we need to help our veterans, because there's just nothing else out there like that.
Well, and what I've observed, Mike, is it's the veteran groups. It's the volunteer veteran groups in this state and in this area. When you all put your minds together, you're a force to be reckoned with. And I know that you have a facility that is being created, and I think that's going to be, you can become the one-stop shop for veterans who are struggling. So you can offer a multiple of different services, so we can work on resume writing, we can work on interviewing. And I tell people all the time when I work with them, go out and interview as much as you possibly can. Go to jobs there would be no way you would ever take that job.
Right.
But that
Get the
frees
experience.
you. Yes.
Get the experience.
Yes, that enables you
Get so many no's before you go for that yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many
Right,
jobs
yeah.
I've been offered in my
That's how you know
career
that, yeah.
because I practiced interviewed and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, thank you very much.
What do you think the hardest part of maybe not only a veteran but the civilian getting that first interview? I mean,
I think it's self-confidence.
is that what it is? Do you think that's where it begins?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm not in the business of getting jobs for individuals. I'm in the business of creating self-confidence and the feeling of self-worth.
And that's where you think the clothes come into play.
Yes. So when you dress anybody that has been really struggling financially and they don't have the wherewithal to get dressed appropriately for the interview, and you see them, they see themselves for the
Think they
very
feel better
first.
about themselves?
Well, it's physical.
That's what I mean.
You
It's-
can see
yeah.
the body change, and you watch
they
the
carry
posture.
themselves?
Yes,
Yes.
If the
I would
shoulders
imagine.
come back and the chin comes up,
Yeah.
and then it's the eyes. The eyes are where I almost always cry,
Mm-hmm.
because you can see those eyes go. I see possibilities. I see potential where I never saw it before.
Right.
So
This
that's
is,
why we do what we do.
and you've been doing this 11 years now.
11 years with Bridge and about 7 years before that, so long
Tell us about
time.
your store. What's going on with that store? How does
Okay.
that work?
Well, we have what is called a social enterprise. We run a resale store because we get a lot of clothing that's not interview appropriate, and it's technically an asset. So we decided we would open a resale store and sell the clothing, and it's a women's resale store. We call it the Bottom Line Boutique, and we're up at 2208 West Chicago Avenue in the Ukrainian Village. And what we do is that we self-fund ourselves. About 60% of our income comes from that store. We also use it as transitional employment
Right,
opportunities.
I was looking at that on your website where
Yeah.
you had a positions available for them to come in and work for you.
Yes.
To learn how to be an entrepreneur or open their own business or whatever. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I thought that was really something that.
Well,
they would
and
take
Bridge
advantage
actually
of.
is very entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm.
We have resisted fitting into any square or round hole. That's not us. You have to be flexible, which you know from running canines for veterans.
Mm-hmm.
You have to anticipate, and you have to constantly scan.
Right.
And I also think when instead of seeing problems, see opportunity. And that's one of the mindsets I think that it's helpful if you can create that. Because if you see an opportunity, you approach it quite differently. So we do have the store, and we'd love people to come and shop with us.
That's awesome. It really is. You know, and again, the idea that these veterans are coming home, they need something. They need some kind of encouragement. You know, I'm sure when they come home, they're like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go?
Yeah.
How do I do this? And they're not getting it from the VA, let's face it.
No.
The VA is not going to get them sit down and say, okay, well, here's Bridge to Success that's going to help you get your clothing to go on that interview. They're not going to tell them, you know, here's this organization that'll
No, they don't.
prepare you for your interview. They don't do that.
That's why I'm saying it's got to be the veteran network that really
And
works.
that's
And that
what we
is
do
how
here.
it works.
And that's what we do here.
And almost every veteran that doesn't come out of a job training program like America Works of Illinois, they find us on their own. And we do have a $50 fee for service, but and there's a lot of pride in the vets that they're not getting a handout. They're getting a hand up.
Right.
But if you can't pay the $50, you can give us 10 hours of volunteer time, and then we'll dress you
That's great.
and send you on your way. I can't tell you how many of the vets come back.
What's your success rate?
For the
Any
dressing,
idea? Yeah.
oh yeah, I do know because we
Tell
have
us,
forms
I'm
filled out.
curious.
It's in the 90s.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So that's going to make you feel good that you take somebody that was just really not sure about what he was going to do or how he was going to do it, and he comes back to you and say, hey, you know that suit of clothes you got?
I got the job.
I got the job.
Yeah.
Now it becomes self-sufficient,
Yeah,
and he feels good about himself.
yeah.
I mean, that, to me, when we first talked about it, I just thought it was such an awesome program because there's so many people. So I know veterans that are out there that are looking for a job, but they don't know where to begin. They don't know how to put that experience from the last 2 years, 4 years of their service into an application that somebody's going to look at it and say, wow, you could do all
Yeah.
this. You know what I mean? So,
Well, it's also amazing because there's a quote on the website that says, a year ago I was dumpster diving, and now I have a job and I have a life. That was a vet. And we have veterans that have come to us and they've tried everything, and they'll come in dressed like you are tonight. And,
Thank you.
And you're welcome. But that's what they're interviewing
Right.
in.
yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, no wonder.
Not exactly the proper
No.
attire you're going to be
But
going
if that's
to.
what you have, that's
Listen,
what
you got to
you
work
wear.
what you have.
Yeah.
You got to work with
Yeah.
what you have. Let's face it.
But you and I both know that's not where you feel the best about yourself.
Exactly.
So if you can get yourself into clothing that makes you feel good and self-important and confident, you're just going to approach it totally different. And that's what happens. Those are the calls that we get.
So again, I'm going to go back to what we had discussed earlier.
Okay.
We need to put something together where we could help them with their resumes
Yep.
to translate that experience they had.
That is the missing
That's
link.
that's number one because I think that's really important because when they look at that resume, they don't know where to begin. They really don't. I've talked to veterans and they had an application in front of them and they said, I don't know what to put.
Well, applications are there to weed you out. They're
Right.
not there to weed you
But
in.
if they knew how to
But if
fill
they
them
know
out,
how to fill it out, because there's a lot of information you do not put on the application that they ask you for.
Right.
So you put different kinds of experiences, and applications are
they
tricky.
know they
Yeah.
need to know how to do
Yeah,
that.
they do.
though. If they don't, they're at a loss to begin with.
Yeah.
And so once we get past that application or that resume, then I'm thinking that a mock interview to teach
Yeah.
them what to expect in
And it's
an
even
interview.
better if you film them.
Yes, let them see for themselves what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah.
And then dress them, and then tell them to hit the road.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But
I mean-
be there to check back in
Right.
so that if they think they aced the interview and it turns out they didn't, then there can be some debriefing
Right.
of, okay, because I think one of the biggest things you do in an interview as an interviewer asks you questions, they're going to ask you for the same information in multiple ways, and the urge is to keep providing new and different information. Stick to the script.
Right.
You don't have to go to
Consistency
new.
is good.
Yeah.
What about headhunters?
Headhunters are generally used by companies for management and executive positions. So, and here's another problem that you have. When you do resumes and you submit resumes and you submit applications, it's almost primarily online now. So there are algorithms that there are companies that are making their living doing this,
Right.
that they'll take those resumes and they'll screen for how many times a specific word shows up, and those are the people that get the interview.
Right.
You're missing a whole boatload.
So we need someone to teach them that as well.
Yes.
See, this could be, I don't know, I just see it as such a big asset to the veterans. You know, if we
Yeah.
could put this whole package together for
Yeah.
them.
Well, that's what you and I are talking
That-
about.
Exactly, and I think this is something that, I know K9 for veterans, you know, we train veterans and we'll provide them with the service dog. Well, that service dog isn't gonna cure their PTSD. It's
No.
gonna help them get through the day. But I'm really thinking that if they felt better about themselves and they were self-supporting, I think it would give them a completely different outlook on life.
Yeah. If you
In
can get
general.
outside of your immediate existence, it's
Exactly.
not.
Break out of that
yeah.
shell that you're in and
Yeah.
open some new doors for the
Correct.
veterans. I think it would make a huge difference. So we definitely need to do that.
Yep.
And at this
I
point,
got people lined up for you.
well, and we're going to do it. At this point, I'd like to mention that K9 for Veterans is having a Christmas party at our facility on Saturday. It's located at 5430 West Roosevelt Road in Chicago. We are going to have Santa Claus there. He's going to be passing out toys to the kids of our veterans. It starts at 2 o'clock. There's going to be face painting for the kids. There's going to be, the kids are going to learn how to make ornaments, and it's just going to be a fun day. So if you're a veteran, you have children, stop out at our facility and check us out. It's going to be an awesome time. And getting back to
And I have
what-
a couple of pairs of winter boots to bring for the event.
Oh God, and we're supposed to have good weather though, so that's one good thing.
Well, we received a donation from one of the national TV shows that films here.
Oh, okay.
So they had really nice boots for their actors
Mm-hmm.
that never got worn, so they were given to us. So
God bless them.
yeah,
God bless them. Okay, let me ask you another question. Somebody wants to get in touch with you. Let me pull your website up here. This is your website.
Yes.
Okay, and it says everything you need to know about
Yeah.
Bridge to Success. It says 10 years in the upper left-hand corner, but it's
we're
11
actually
years.
at 11.
And Susan, as you can tell, is an awesome lady. She's willing to work with veterans, non-veterans, men,
Well,
women.
yeah, we serve about 300 people a year.
Yeah, that's awesome. So jump on this website and find out more information. And if you need help, contact Susan. She's
Yeah.
gonna be here to help you.
And if you Google Bridge to Success Chicago will be one of the first things that comes up. So
Awesome.
it's easy to find.
So again, what do you think the hardest part for someone? And I know I asked you this before.
Yeah.
The hardest part for someone to come up and ask for help for?
Pride.
Going back to the pride thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that feeling of I gave so much for my country and to my country, I shouldn't have to ask.
You know, we shouldn't have 22 veterans a day taking their lives
No,
either.
and we shouldn't have the homeless numbers of vets.
32%
Yes.
of our veterans are homeless.
Yeah, and that's the majority of what we, of whom
Exactly.
we help.
Do you help me, statistically, are you helping more men than women?
Oh, absolutely.
More
Yeah.
men?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so.
But we do help women as well.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, it's more guys.
Now, do employers ever call you looking for candidates?
No, they don't. And that's probably because I don't have that history with them, which is, again, we're identifying a glitch or a lack of services and a
Right.
lack of ability for employers to find a way, how do I connect with these veterans that are work ready? They don't necessarily know. So that's, we're sort of going like this.
Yeah, it's just, to me, doing what you're doing, when we first talked, I was just really amazed what you did and
Thank you.
the reasons why you do it and stuff
And
like
I was
that.
with you. It was like, oh,
know,
right.
Yeah, I mean,
Mutual
it's a-
admiration
You know, it's
society.
a good fit. It really
It
is.
is, it is.
You know, when the veterans come home, we try to provide them with a service dog to help them get through the day. You know, you could turn around and do the same thing to help them get a job, to be self-supporting. I talk to veterans all the time, and you know, they'll tell me, you know, Mike, I'm looking for a job, but I just can't find
Yeah,
one. I
yeah.
said, well, you know, what are you doing? He says, look, I'm putting applications all over the place.
Yeah, so
One
you have to
guy-
be more targeted and more strategic, and
I think they're
and
just so desperate. They're
yeah,
trying
well,
for
sure
anything.
they are.
I mean, they really are.
Because they're not getting any help
Exactly.
with it.
And they're not getting any responses from the ones they are putting out.
Yeah,
You know, and I think the VA and, you know, I think there's a stigma attached to the veterans that we work with, particularly the PTSD veterans. You know, there's that stigma attached to that.
yeah.
So,
I had a veteran volunteer. He's a Vietnam vet, and he came and helped. He wanted a suit. He wasn't looking for a job, but he needed a suit for church, and so he gave us time. I don't care.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on, let's just make him feel
wearing it
good.
for the right reason.
Yeah, right. So after we got him dressed, he wasn't going anywhere. He said, "You need my help. I'm staying right
God bless.
here." And I'm going to work and help with you. And he spent months with us before the summer came, and then he went off and
That, you
mowed
know,
lawns.
that's got to make you feel good.
It
you know.
does.
We get veterans that come into our program and say, you know, oh my God, you know, I want to help you train these service dogs for another veteran.
Yeah,
You know, because I know what it's done for you know, for them.
yeah.
And now they want to pass that along
And I think
pay it
that's the
forward to.
unique part about vets.
Mhm.
You do have a big pay it forward
They're
theory, and I think that we have underestimated and underappreciated our veterans in how we have. You know, I think it's great to have a ribbon on your car that says support our troops,
but
but
do something.
do something.
Exactly.
Talk's cheap. It's actions
Right.
that truly count.
And I've never, of course, I talk to veterans all day long, but I've really never talked to any of the veterans that felt that they were owed something.
No, they don't.
They really, they
I haven't
didn't
met
feel-
that person
no,
yet.
They never came in and said, you know, well, I'm owed this because I went out and I served our country. I gave my country 2 years. They are the most humble
And generous.
and generous. I mean, they were willing to put everything on the line for us, and they come back and
they
it's
truly do put everything on
Oh.
the line. They put not only their
their
lives,
life, their
but
family,
their families, and then
everything.
coming back, their economic livelihood. There is
Their life is so
much.
disrupted
Yeah.
from that 2 years of service that they give our country, and when they come back, it's typically in shambles because they're at square one.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're just not. The VA, and I'm not here to rap the VA. I guess they're doing what they can, but I just think they should be doing more for the
I agree.
veterans returning home.
I agree.
I really truly believe that they're
Yeah.
just not enough. There's
But
programs.
I think that I don't think it's going to happen with the VA, so I think it's up to us.
Help telling us we have to wrap this up. Okay, we're here again with Susan Van Veen. She's the executive director of the Bridge to Success. please give her a call on her website. And you know, if you've got somebody who's looking to get a job and they need some help, Susan's the person to go to.
Yep.
And again, I want to say for K9 for Veterans, we're having that Christmas party this Saturday, 2 o'clock, 5430 West Roosevelt. Go to our website, our Facebook page, and we're also looking for volunteers to help us at our training center. So please give us a call, get some information, call Susan, and we're here to do whatever we can for our veterans and just to do the right thing. Thank you. Susan, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
my
Mike.
guest
I
today.
enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay.